Good morning, everyone. It's Matt Donahue with your weekly market update for the week ending June 14th. We had a rising market last week. The S&P and the Nasdaq were both up. The Dow was an outliner with a little bit of a decline. Part of the reason for that was that inflation was easing. Inflation was reported at a 12-month low last week. Growth stocks continue to outperform in the last 4 weeks. The growth stocks have outperformed value by 6% to 4.3. We're seeing some declines in the bond market. Also, European stocks are down. And the Fed, for the seventh meeting in a row, said they are going to keep their benchmark interest rate unchanged and that they are probably only going to do one rate cut this year. U.S. consumers are not happy about inflation. The consumer confidence index fell again. However, as the U.S. goes, so does the rest of the world. So the world's updated growth forecast for the next 12 months actually showed an improvement based primarily on the US's continued dominance in the world economies. In terms of reports for this week, today, no major reports are scheduled. Tomorrow, we have retail sales, industrial production and capacity utilization, and business inventories. Wednesday is Juneteenth, so the financial markets are closed. Housing market index is going to report on June 16th. Or on Juneteenth, excuse me. Thursday, we have housing starts from the Census Bureau, weekly unemployment from the Department of Labor, and then Friday, the Conference Board leading economic index for the U.S. and existing home sales from the National Association of Realtors. Philosophy quote for the week: hey, you can do it. This one comes from Seneca, and it is: fortune doesn't have the long reach we suppose. She can only lay siege to those who hold her tight. So let's step back from her as much as possible. So what does that mean? What that basically means is do your best. You can do what you can do. And sometimes yet things fall into place, sometimes they don't. But if you get too wound up when things are going really well, if you get too down in the dumps when things are not going well, then you're allowing what's happening to control you. So fortune means, in this case, essentially slow and steady wins the race. Don't get too high, don't get too low. Try to manage your emotions during the course of whatever it is you're dealing with. And again, like I said, when things are going great, hey, it's easy to get cocky. When things are not going great, it's easy to get down. One day at a time. One day at a time. Um, some tax tips. We're going to talk about estate taxes today, planning and inheriting property. So the first thing is everyone should have an estate plan, and the reason why is because with an estate plan, you're essentially leaving a document and a process behind for the people who care about you. And that's what it is. I mean, the one thing I think we can all agree on is that the people who care about you are going to miss you when you're gone. And do them a favor, do them a solid. Have a good will and trust in place so that they know exactly what to do with everything. If anything, it just makes their lives easier. And every state has such low probate limits these days that virtually everybody's going to go through probate. And if that's the case, what ends up happening is the state will come in and say, okay, this is how things are going to go. Some of the things you want to think about when you put together a will or a trust include privacy, inheritance timing, costs of settling everything up, maintaining family harmony, financial positions of minors, protecting step family members, asset protection, and probate avoidance. Medical powers of attorney and living wills, what those do is they provide for your wishes to be carried out if you cannot communicate them at the time. So you're injured, you had a serious illness, you can't talk, right? You can't communicate with anyone. Legal and financial powers of attorney grant permission for someone to carry out your desires if you can't communicate with them at the time. So think of the medical in terms of, hey, this is what you want the doctors to do. Legal and financial is, hey, this is how we're going to keep paying the bills or start settling things up. Make sure any beneficiary designations are updated, especially on insurance and retirement accounts. And then trusts, there's a lot in this week's blog post, so go to our website, www.missionfinancialplanners.com. You'll see there's a great explanation there of how an AB trust works. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you file a tax return when somebody passes away. That's the estate tax return. Don't forget to do that, even if you have a smaller estate, because that can help offset some potential penalties that the estate might end up absorbing later on. Don't let your trust or will be more than 5 years old. If you don't have one in place, make sure you create one. A trust is a great way to keep assets private and really try to make sure the estate gets settled up. One other thing, and we've run into this quite a bit over the years, make sure that your it's probably not a good idea to joint title accounts or property with your children. And the reason why is that opens you up to exposure to their debtors or their creditors, potential predators, lawsuits, divorces, things like that that they might be going through. But it also opens them up to financial issues you might be going through. So a lot of people think, hey, I'm doing it a favor because it makes it easy. You can do that just as easily in a will and a trust. And from that legal perspective, if it costs you a little bit to work with an attorney, it could be saving you a lot in terms of headaches and also from a financial standpoint later on. As well, go to our website, check out about how the step up in basis works. That's something that I think a lot of people really fail to appreciate. Essentially, you want to preserve the step up. Health tip of the week. Okay, we're gonna stay with our focus on mental or brain health and Alzheimer's. So this comes from the Mayo Clinic again. First thing is exercise regularly. Physical activity, or people who do a lot of physical activity, are way less likely to experience a decline in their mental function, and they have a much lower risk for things like Alzheimer's. The reason for that is because exercise forces more blood to flow to your brain during exercise, and it also helps reverse some of the natural reduction in brain connections that occur during aging. Um, Try to exercise a couple times a week. 3 to 5 times a week for just 30 to 60 minutes. Walk, swim, do whatever you do. Get some moderate aerobic activity that'll help raise your heart rate. Get lots of sleep. Okay, sleep helps clear the abnormal proteins in your brain and consolidates memories, which boosts your overall memory and brain health. Try to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night, not fragmented sleep in 2 to 3 hour increments. Consecutive sleep gives your brain the chance to consolidate and store your memories effectively. It also helps to make sure that you're um, um, maybe just going to be in a good mood. Eating a Mediterranean diet. Okay, this is something I know a lot of people get fired up about, but consider adopting the Mediterranean diet. Lots of plant-based foods, whole grains, fish, healthy fats like olive oil. There isn't quite as much red meat and salt as what's in a typical American diet. Studies show that people who closely follow it are much less likely to develop Alzheimer's than people who don't follow the diet. We do know that omega fatty acids found in extra virgin olive oil and other healthy fats are vital for your cells to function correctly, and they also help to decrease your risk of coronary artery disease, increase your mental focus, and slow cognitive decline. The other thing, stay mentally active. Your brain is similar to a muscle. You need to use it or lose it. There's a lot of things you can do. Crossword puzzles, Sudoku, reading, playing cards, putting together a jigsaw puzzle. Okay, a little bit about me. The two things I like to do. So as you all probably know, I turned 51 just about a month ago. And the two things I like to do in my spare time when I have it, I'm learning how to play guitar, which is a slow but steady process. Something I never had played a stringed instrument before in my life until about 2 years ago when I started. The other thing I do, believe it or not, I love Legos. To me, they're just like 3D puzzles, and I really get a kick out of doing them. Started doing them with my kids during COVID, and have really enjoy it. So there are things you can do, right? Just little things you can do. They don't have to be expensive. Just don't waste your time watching too much TV. And then stay socially involved. I'll say this, social interaction for me is something that, hey, I'm at work, I'm at home, I tend to compartmentalize my life. The challenge that's going to create for someone like me, if and when I ever retire, is that I'm going to lose that work side of my life. And the work side of my life, like most people, tends to dominate most of your social connections. What's going to happen when those are gone? I'm going to have to go out and find some new ones, right? Am I going to volunteer? Am I going to travel? Am I going to join some interest groups of some kind? Who knows, right? Who knows? But you got to stay out engaged and active with people. Keep your blood vessels healthy. Hey, regularly go to the doctor and check your blood pressure, your blood sugar, and your cholesterol. Increase your physical activity. Eat that Mediterranean diet. Keep your salt down, and try to lay off the alcohol and tobacco a little bit. Right? Moderate drinking, 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. Well, that's it for the week, folks. Thanks again, and have a great Juneteenth if you're off. If not, take a minute to reflect. Hey, that's the day slavery ended in the U.S., so definitely something worth celebrating. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.